Oh, hi there. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the internet in general, and I'll start with a quote from George Bush. It is important for us to explain to our nation that life is important. It's not only life of babies, but life of children living in, the dark dungeons of the internet. Now, there are certain aspects that are quite important that are poorly understood on the internet. There are snuff films somewhat available on the internet. I don't personally go looking for them too often, but yeah, when you reach a certain age, you run into these things through someone else telling you, or you running into it yourself, or whatever. Sometimes you don't even have to be doing anything. You could just show up. Anyway, yeah, I witnessed a video of a Russian soldier being decapitated by the Taliban, and it was really graphic. And I saw it years and years ago, and it definitely left a lasting impression on me. You could hear him gargling and gurgling as they were cutting his head off, and it was quite barbaric. And that little snippet of a video wasn't designed to have any context or any meaning to it, except for that initial viciousness factor, and it did the job perfectly well. It scared me witless to ever put on a uniform and go out there. And it goes to show you that the internet is based on video footage taken from cameras, and there have been some graphic scenes that have happened in the past during wars and things like that that aren't publicly shown. Vietnam is one example where American soldiers were tortured. The most famous one I've heard of is the bamboo torture, where they get a bit of bamboo under the fingernail and lift the fingernail up. That would be quite painful and quite unbearable. But I'm sure there's video evidence of that, but it doesn't get shown on mainstream internet. But you can put the pictures together and put the evidence together and just figure it out for yourself that sort of stuff did go down. Now, it's just not completely about snuff films. There are other things too, like something as simple as internet pornography. Let me get one thing straight. There is a lot of bad internet pornography out there. You name it, from men being too involved, ugly women, interracial pornography, which would sound good if it was a white guy going with a black chick, but most often it's a black guy going with a white chick. So you can see where someone in my position would be personally offended by it. And I don't like that it's readily available, or not even readily available. You just generically search up the name of it and you'll get a million resources. Yeah, it's all over the place. There's literally millions of hours of content, and it's quite disturbing, really. And it's demoralizing for young white men to have to watch that sort of stuff, or to have it bombarded on them. I'm not going to say that you can't get pornography that more suits their personal standings, whether their physical appearance or personality or whatever they're looking for in general. But most often it leads you down a path that you don't want the young people going down. You certainly don't want them to get the impression that this is a good thing, that it's a good system. It's not. It's a terrible system and it needs to be redone. There are other things on the internet too. There's the wheels of confusion, as I like to call it. It's just mindless propaganda, gibberish, you name it, false information, misleading information that distracts people from what's really going on, and it's genuinely just a waste of time. It's hard to decipher what's good and what's not because you actually have to sit through and watch it to figure that sort of stuff out. But once you've sat through it, you go, well, I wasted 10 minutes, I wasted 20 minutes, I wasted half an hour, I wasted an hour watching this pile of garbage, and I didn't learn anything. And that's the way they want it. They don't want you to know anything. They don't want you to think. And if they do want you to think, they want you to think the way they want you to think. Like, there's no shortage of animal cruelty videos to try and discourage you from eating meat, which in itself is probably a good thing. It would be nice if there were a few less meat eaters around there. But, you know, you can't show the worst of it and say that's it as a whole. That's the whole thing of it, how the meat industry is. They have standards, they have policies, they have audits, they have everything that most companies do. This whole perpetuated image that they're just barbaric slaughterers and they're one step away from being human slaughterers and all that kind of stuff, it's all a load of nonsense. It's not true at all. That's another aspect of the dungeons of the internet, is the meat industry and the image of it being so barbaric and things like that. I'm not gonna lie, some things that happen in the meat industry that are very unrighteous, very right. I mean, animals do get killed and slaughtered for our consumption, but that's just part of the natural order of things. We've been eating these animals for thousands of years. Yeah, so my point is, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that's kind of screwed up. Shouldn't be there in the first place. And a lot of it is a lot of dribble. You don't get any solid facts at all from any of it. And it's surprising how offended people get. They tell you an offensive message, whether it be their beliefs on 9/11, how it was manufactured by the American government, how fire can't melt down steel beams and things like that. So they're sending a controversial message as it is, yet if you contradict them on their forums or on an open forum where you're allowed to have discussion with them, they get completely offended. They'll either block you, get really angry with you, or stubbornly try to prove their point to you. And 9/11 is a prime example. It happened a long time ago. Well, not really that long, but long enough ago that it's old news. And you get people going, oh, it's a conspiracy theory so that they can take our guns away and turn us into martial law and justify their wars in foreign countries and blah, 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 blah. And I go, there's more to the story than that. You can't just go on what's said on the internet. I especially don't, because I have a unique understanding of propaganda and its effect on the mind of submissive people, people who don't think outside the box, people who don't care to think outside the box, people who as soon as they hear something or listen to something and it caters to their beliefs, they have no choice, and they don't want any choice. They want to commit to this idea that they're being told the truth by some internet piece of propaganda. I was about to say pornography, but in a way that's the same sort of thing, but that's not what I'm going to get into. Yeah, it's the internet is just so messed up. I have no idea who's behind it and what their logic is on how they go about doing things their modus operandi, or whatever you want to call it. It's just doesn't make any sense. And it could be done so much better. I mean, I'm just some slacker who works in the produce department, but I know that what I'm seeing is a dumbed down version of events, and there's a lot more going on and a lot more obvious details that are being left out. And the people who are accentuating simple ideas, again, I'll use the example of 9/11 or the Boston bombings or whatever, and just pushing that idea. And by the way, if you go to mention any of these ideas to a professional in society, like a psychiatrist or a police officer or whatever, they're just gonna think you're crazy and not believe a word you have to say. They're just gonna think you're stupid. And they would be right to do that. If you believe everything you see or hear on the internet or read on the internet, then you are in fact stupid. It's a sad fact, but a lot of people are stupid. They go, well, it's not on the television, it's on the internet, so therefore it must be true. I mean, I've never heard of what a troll is. Someone who just makes up stories and goes about it and does things in an obnoxious, annoying way. Never heard of a troll before. And just because a certain webpage says, oh, this famous medical doctor says this or that, you know, a famous medical doctor you've never heard of before, and this study that was never told to you before they started doing it, they only tell you the aftermath of it afterwards to try and convince you of a certain idea. Like, oh man, I could go back to veganism and that whole idea that they have this solid concrete evidence, and they have a web page resource for every single aspect of the argument of eating meat, between it being unhealthy for you, between it being unethical, between this and that, between certain things not being vegan and all this other sort of stupid stuff. And it's just like, you didn't learn any of that yourself, did you? You got told that. You couldn't think outside the friggin' box. I pity people like that, man. They have no mind of their own. They have to be told how to think. Now, I'm not gonna try and change people's minds about things or try and convince them that they're wrong. They want to listen to me, they want to listen to what I have to say. I say have an open mind. Try and understand things from a different perspective. Try and understand things from the point that somebody is trying to persuade you because they may have a personal bias or they may have an agenda to try and give you misleading evidence or misleading opinions and basically try to trick you. And there's no guarantees on the internet. It's the dark dungeons of the internet, and there are a lot of young people who are trapped in it, and it could be a whole lot worse, but it's not very good right now. Yeah. Every video that ever goes on the internet should say, viewer beware. Beware of your own mental state, how you perceive the world, and try and take things with some lucidity. Try and be calm about it and relaxed, and nothing phases you, nothing bothers you. And things that might bother you, you push them out, you get rid of them. Because on the internet, you're going to get bothered. People are going to piss you off, and they're going to make it a vigorous attempt. And there's always somebody out there with a different opinion than you. So just deal with it. Just get rid of them, ignore them, and try and communicate with people who have similar beliefs to you. But don't be trapped in that certain train of thought because you have a preconceived view of things. Yeah, it's really as simple as that. Anyway, it's getting rather late and I have to go to bed because I have to go to work tomorrow. So I'm going to end this video. If you liked it, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching. Good day.